Ever catch yourself thinking about a memory and going, wait, did that really happen the way I remember?
Yeah.
We always think of our memories like, those perfectly clear recordings of the past, don't we?
Mm-hmm.
But today we're going to really deep dive into, well, kind of the unsettling world of false memories.
Okay.
And using this article from SciTechDaily.com as a guide.
Got it.
This is False Memories Under Fire from January 12th, 2025.
Okay.
And it might make you rethink everything you think you remember. So this article is challenging a pretty big belief about how easy it is to make up a false memory, which kind of all stems back to this study called the Lost in the Mall experiment. Ever heard of that one?
Oh, yeah. The Lost in the Mall study back in 95 really caused a stir. They claim to have put a totally fake memory into 25% of the people they studied, making them believe they'd gotten lost in a mall as kids.
Okay, so 1/4 the people. That's a lot. That's pretty convincing, right?
Yeah. And then to make it even more interesting, that study got replicated in 2023 with a bigger group, and the results seemed to back up the original findings.
So it seemed like, okay, yeah, you can pretty easily give someone a false memory.
Exactly. 123 participants in that 2023 study, and they got a false memory recall rate of 35%.
Whoa.
Even higher than the original.
Okay, so it seemed like case closed, right?
Yeah.
But then comes this new article, False Memories Under Fire, kind of throwing a wrench in everything. What'd they find that was so surprising?
So, get this. None of those participants from the 2023 study, the ones classified as having a false memory, none of them could fully recall the made-up event.
Wait, so they were classified as having a false memory but couldn't remember it?
Yeah, I know. It's kind of a head-scratcher, right?
Yeah.
But the new analysis, it dug deeper into the data and found that a lot of them didn't even remember being lost at all.
Okay, so then what were they remembering?
That's what they wanted to figure out.
Right.
And it turns out about half of those people had actually been lost as a kid at some point.
Oh, wow.
It seems like their brains were like tapping into a real memory, just not the specific one the researchers made up.
So instead of making a brand new memory, they accidentally woke up an old one.
Exactly. It really shows how complex memory is and how easy it is to influence.
Okay, what about the other half of those participants, though? The ones who hadn't ever been lost?
Yeah, right.
What's going on with their memories?
Well, now, this is where it gets really interesting. These people were so unsure about the details that their memories wouldn't have held up in, a real-world situation.
Okay, yeah. So imagine a witness on the stand, super hesitant.
Right.
Can't really give any details.
Exactly. That's exactly the point this new analysis is making.
Okay.
The article even quotes Professor Chris Bruin. He's saying, we got to be careful about applying lab research to real-life situations like courtrooms.
Right, just because it happens in a lab doesn't mean it'll work the same way in real life.
Exactly.
But how do we know how unreliable these so-called false memories are?
So the researchers actually broke down the fake memory into 6 core details.
Okay.
Being lost, crying, helped by an old lady, reunited with family.
So the main parts of a lost child story.
Right, and then the location and time.
Okay.
Well, the people with the false memories could only recall, on average, 1.5 of those details.
1.5?
Yeah.
Out of 6x?
Yep.
That's not exactly what I picture when I think of a vivid memory.
Well, more like a blurry photo with pieces missing.
Exactly.
And get this, 30% of them couldn't remember a single detail at all.
Wow, that's not very convincing.
None at all.
Not what you want for, eyewitness testimony.
Right, and here's another thing.
Yeah.
The researchers noticed that the participants themselves were more cautious about what they claimed to remember than the investigators.
So even the people labeled as having a false memory weren't sure if it was real.
Yeah, their brains were going, hang on, are you sure about that?
It's maybe we all have these kind of jumbled up memories, part real and part made up. And if that's the case, what does it even mean to remember something?
That's a big question, and thankfully we've got more to this deep dive to get into it.
Okay.
We'll be back after a quick.
This whole thing just makes me think about, how this impacts the legal system.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, remember how we said that Lost in the Mall study?
Yeah.
That's been used in some big court cases.
And if those implanted memories aren't as solid as we thought,
Right.
it really makes you wonder about eyewitness testimony.
It definitely does, because it challenges that idea that just because someone remembers something means it happened exactly how they're describing it.
Right.
Their memory could be like a mix of real stuff and made up stuff.
Yeah.
Or maybe someone suggested something to them and it changed their memory.
So then how do we even know what's real?
That's the tough part.
Yeah. I mean, especially in cases of, like, assault or abuse.
Right, where there's no other evidence.
Exactly. It all comes down to someone's memory.
And that's why this research is so important. It's telling us we can't just take someone's word for it.
Right.
We can't just assume, because they sound confident, that it means it really happened that way. We have to look at all the factors.
All the stuff that could have changed their memory.
Exactly.
And maybe what they think is true isn't actually what happened.
Yeah, it's like we need a whole new set of tools.
Yeah.
A way to figure out if a memory is actually reliable.
I mean, this makes me think about therapy, too.
Oh, yeah.
Even just regular relationships. If our memories can be so easily distorted, how do we know what's real about ourselves?
That's a deep one. And honestly, I think we all struggle with that a little bit.
Yeah.
It's not about being suspicious of everyone.
Right.
But it is about thinking critically, recognizing that memory isn't perfect.
Yeah.
And being open to the idea that there might be more to the story.
So, like, we have to be detectives of our own past.
Exactly. Always looking for clues, considering different angles.
Questioning everything.
And, yeah, accepting that maybe what we remember isn't the whole truth.
That's kind of unsettling, right?
It can be, but it's also exciting.
How so?
The more we learn about memory, the more we realize how much we don't know. It's like a constant journey of discovery, uncovering new things about what makes us human.
So instead of being afraid of the fact that our memories aren't perfect, we should see it as a chance to learn and grow.
Exactly. It's about recognizing that memory isn't static.
Yeah.
It changes over time.
And by accepting those limitations, we actually understand how powerful and complex it really is.
Exactly.
So for our listeners out there, what's the main takeaway here?
The biggest thing to remember...
No pun intended.
Right.
Yeah.
Is that memory isn't a perfect recording. It's more like a story we tell ourselves about the past.
And like any good story, you can get exaggerated or changed over time.
Exactly. So we got to be mindful of the stories we're telling ourselves. We should accept that they might not be 100% accurate.
Right.
And be open to changing those stories as we learn new things.
Like, we got to be aware of our own biases.
Yes. Just like you'd be aware of bias in a history book.
Or like how a single photo can't show everything about an event.
Exactly. And by understanding that, we can be smarter about the information we take in.
From the world and from our own minds. So next time a memory pops up, don't just take it as fact.
Right.
Really look at it. Think about the context and ask yourself, did this really happen this way?
Or is my brain tricking me?
Yeah. And don't be afraid to talk to other people.
Oh, yeah, good point.
Compare memories and see if there are any differences.
That's how we build a more accurate picture of the past.
And maybe learn something new about ourselves along the way.
Exactly. After all, who we are today is shaped by those memories.
This has really made me think differently about my own memories.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not just what we remember, but how we remember it. And how those memories make us who we are.
That's what's so cool about exploring these things.
Yeah.
It opens our minds to new possibilities.
It makes us challenge our own assumptions.
Yeah.
And helps us understand this crazy thing called life.
I like that.
So we're at the end of our deep dive into false memories.
But there's always more to learn.
Right.
So much more to explore about the human mind.
So keep questioning, keep exploring, and be amazed by how incredible and how flawed our memories are. It's funny, we started talking about memories being like these perfect little movies, but the more we talk about this, the more I think it's like more like a game of telephone.
Oh, telephone. How so?
Well, you know how the message changes each time someone repeats it? Things get messed up, details get added, stuff gets left out.
Yeah.
It's kind of like that with memory. Each time we remember something,
Mm-hmm.
We're basically retelling the story.
Right.
And each time there's a chance for things to get a little bit wrong.
I like that analogy. It really shows how memory isn't this fixed thing.
Yeah.
It's always changing and being reshaped.
Right. And just like telephone, those little mistakes,
Yeah.
they could really add up.
And change the whole story.
Exactly. It makes me wonder about, like, all those childhood memories.
Mm-hmm.
Are they even real?
Mm.
Or am I just remembering a version that's been, like, filtered and changed over time?
That's a question we all have to think about. And
Yeah.
I don't think there's one right answer.
Right.
It's not about saying all your memories are fake.
Right.
But it is about realizing that memory can be wrong.
Yeah.
It's affected by so many things.
So then how do we even deal with that? How do we hold on to those special memories?
Yeah.
And also accept that they might not be completely true?
I think it's about finding that balance, cherishing how those memories make you feel, but also recognizing that they might be distorted.
So, like, it's okay that the details might be a little fuzzy?
Yeah, as long as the feeling is real.
Exactly. Our memories, maybe they aren't perfect records of the past.
Right.
But they tell us who we are, how we've changed.
They tell us what's important.
Yeah, so maybe instead of worrying about every single detail, we should focus on what those memories mean to us.
Exactly. Memory is so much more than just facts.
It's about our identity.
Our connections to other people.
Yeah.
And how we feel.
It's like our memories are pieces of art.
Oh, I like that.
We can appreciate how beautiful they are, how they make us feel, without needing them to be perfectly accurate.
That's a great way to think about it.
This whole deep dive has really made me think differently about memory.
Me too.
Yeah, it's not just what we remember, but how
it changes us.
Yeah, and that's what we're all about here on the Deep Dive.
Making you curious, making you think critically.
Helping you see the world in a new way.
Exactly.
So as we finish up, we want you to remember one last thing.
Okay.
Don't be afraid to question your memories.
Yeah.
Explore those little details, those inconsistencies.
They might be hiding the most interesting parts of the story.
And who knows, maybe by questioning your memories, you'll learn something new about yourself.
You might uncover a truth you never even knew was there.
So keep thinking about this. Keep exploring the world of memory.
And all its weirdness.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into false memories.